Hello, this is Beyond the Headlines and I'm Jane Gogodas. In this edition, we get down to a camp for displaced people in Chikwawa to talk to those relocating back to their homes.
Our
lives have been up and down at this camp, considering that we lost our livelihoods. Frankly speaking, living at this camp made our lives easier. Also
in this edition, we meet a woman who plies the streets of Blantyre for survival. And in the arts, Chigomezio Nyasulu gives us a taste of Vimbuza, a spirit-filled healing dance.
The spirit will come only if the drums that is done. The women's are singing.
Thanks for joining us, and once again, welcome. Let's start off with a visit to Chikwawa, where people displaced by floods have started relocating back to their flood-battered homes. Sadly, in the same flood-prone areas. Thousands have been living in camps after being displaced by Tropical Storm Ana early this year. Many, though they don't like it but have no choice, to return to the very same homes destroyed by the floods and have to pick up the pieces, live another day, another week, another month, and another season. District officials say the relocation will foster a quick recovery. Bernard Kankono has the story.
Berina Emmanuel packing her belongings ready to go back home. With her 4 kids, Masukambia camp in Malawi Chikwawa has been their home for the past 4 months. She is one of those that were displaced following the devastation of floods induced by Tropical Storm Ana. Together with 500 other camp members, they are preparing to relocate back home.
Our lives have been up and down at this camp, considering that we lost our livelihoods. However, let me point out that we are grateful to the well-wishers who have been donating various assorted items to us. If it wasn't for these donations, I can't imagine the kind of misery we would have been.
For a 57-year-old widow, Modesta Batamasi, staying at this camp has been a great relief. At a single strike of Cyclone Ana, Modesta lost all her fortunes she had accumulated for the past decades. Just like other displaced people in the district, she has been depending on well-wishers to save her daily needs through donations.
Even though we have been at camp, some of camp members have been engaging themselves in peace works to supplement provisions that well-wishers have been making to us. Frankly speaking, living at this camp made our lives easier.
Equally, Berina and Modesta are sharing fears of what they will make out of their lives once they leave the camp, just like other people living in camps. This comes as authorities in the district have commenced decommissioning of these camps. Abraham Kambewa is the chairperson of Masukambia camp.
Nkhawa yathu ili choncho kunena kuti tibwerera kumudzi.
Currently, we have more questions or not. Some of our livestock were saved from the raging waters. We are not sure of whether the new place will be able to accommodate our livestock. Talk of where we'll be sourcing our daily bread, we are not even sure. Even though we are worried of what life will be like at the new place, relocating to a new place will at least assure us of our safety in an event flood will occur.
Kodi akatipatsa malo ngati athuwa ife tikusowa mayankho.
According to the Director of Planning and Development for Chikwawa District, Tokozi Rengwira, The process of decommissioning the camps will hasten the process of recovering from the aftermath of the floods.
We're still discussing with partners, and we also know that DODMA has also been talking with various partners on possibility of providing shelter, that is permanent shelter. But nevertheless, the package that the people are being provided as return package, it's also comprising of things like plastic sheets or tambourines, so that the people may be able to set up shelter once they go back home. But as of now, we still haven't had a partner that has committed that maybe they'll construct houses. But we know we've signed some letters of commitment by some partners whom have written proposals to have shelter for such kind of people. So we are hopeful that something may come up soon. As a district, we'll be going around in camps, checking if the people have really gone home, and also those that haven't yet got home. We've also been receiving reports from the area civil protection committees that most people have gone home, but then there are some, like the most elderly, that are still in camps. So we need to strategize as a district on how best we can help them. But then there are some camps that may not be decommissioned.
We should expect some rain moisture to come from the Indian Ocean to most parts of the country, just sustain few clouds.
With continued climate change, there is no telling when another devastating storm may hit again. But what will happen if the devastating floods reoccur? Most likely, the camps that are being decommissioned will once again buzz with life. But looking ahead, one of the country's seasoned environmentalists, Professor Ishmael Kosamu of Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences, Mubas, says prioritizing actions that promote resilience will help to avoid future devastations.
The earth is formulated in such a way that it responds to all changes that do happen. When we had the beginning, all systems were operational and interdependent on each other. The ecosystems were providing for us as human beings, but also other components of the earth. And when we live in a fashion that is not sustainable, the same earth responds. So we need really to change the way we think, to change the way we do things, and we'll see how the earth will respond by giving us a positive feedback. And therefore, as a country, let's continue to follow our national aspirations, the Vision 2063, the other arcing instruments of government that we always follow, and also sustainable development goals, which are all key to managing our environment.
Tropical Storm Ana induced floods displaced 32,000 households in 13 districts across Malawi. Following the damage, 178 camps were commissioned in the affected districts to house those that were rendered destitute.
Beggars are a common sight in most of our cities' busy streets. The exact number of how many there are is not known, but each day we see more and more darting from one car to another asking for alms. Among them are visually impaired beggars, mostly in the company of their children. What is it that they go through? Well, Simeon Boyce tells the story of a visually impaired beggar who has been begging the streets of Blantyre and Limbe for more than 10 years.
The streets of Blantyre and Limbe are the places where Derise Elinimo and her husband, who are both visually impaired, find their food and that of their family through begging. Life on the streets can be stressful as good Samaritans are sometimes hard to find. They meet all sorts of people, some helpful, some not. In her 9 years, she has experienced abuse from some who scored at beggars.
We experience a lot of abuses here on the street, while others simply ignore us when we are begging them. Others add insults to it, like asking me why I'm working with my daughter, whom I can offer to be their wife.
Derise came to Blantyre City from Chikwawa to start begging in 2013. But now she says she is tired of begging and that street life.
I'm tired of living a life of a beggar because we have to toil on the street every day. My wish is to find a well-wisher who can assist me with a business capital. I have some wisdom to pursue a business.
Disability is not inability. While others are surviving through begging on the streets, others have found opportunities to get employment. I am here at the Malawi Council of the Handicapped, Makoha, to meet one of those. She is Ulemu Kumwenda, who got employed, and she works as a rehabilitation assistant. Being someone who belongs to a category of people who are always seen as beggars, Ulemu knows she shoulders a huge responsibility to change the people's perception by demonstrating her ability to work in an efficient and effective manner.
When one is trained, can do everything. So as for me, I try my best to at least please my bosses, because what I heard is that if I don't perform well, then in the end they say, this person is somebody with visual impairment.
Ulemu Kumwenda says, just like her, imparting vocational skills and access to startup capital, visually impaired persons can live normal lives through employment or operating small-scale businesses. But sadly, this is not the case.
Persons with visual impairment, they face a lot of challenges in life. Firstly, poverty. Most of them are not working, and it becomes very, very difficult for them to generate income from their day-to-day life. And again, if you talk of money lending institutions, it becomes even difficult for them maybe to lend money to persons with visual impairment because they have negative attitude. They think that maybe when they borrow the money, they want pay back. So as a result, they remain poor. And again, these days we have the village banks, and you find that a lot of people, they don't welcome persons with visual impairment in these groups, which is very, very difficult. And again, you find that women, as they go like in town begging, most of them, they face violence. You find that maybe men come, just abuse them, giving them children without any support.
The Malawi government established the Malawi Council of the Handicapped, Makoha, to provide vocational skills and employment opportunities to persons with disabilities, including the visually impaired. But as Women and Children Program Officer at Makoha, Mese Mpunga, explains, they are providing their services to the limited number of people due to inadequate funding.
It's true that we are not able to reach out to all of them because of financial challenges.
To create awareness on the challenges visually impaired persons face in their daily lives and mobilize resources for support, Titandizane Association for the Blind, Visually Impaired, TAVI, has been revived. It has over 300 members of people who are visually impaired in Blantyre alone. Its chairperson, Aaron John Tambala, says his plans are to improve the livelihood of visually impaired persons through feeding program and imparting vocational skills. However, there are several obstacles which Tambala has to overcome, including rebuilding their office structure, which was demolished by Tropical Storm Ana. What you're seeing here are the remains of the structure which Titandizane Association of the Blind and the Visually Impaired have been using as the place to hold their meetings. But as you can see, the structure was blown off by Tropical Storm Ana, which destroyed it, and I'm told the equipment which was inside, just like chairs and computers was stolen.
In this organization, we were facing a lot of challenges, lack of materials of running this office, and since the Ana storms came and take it away, that's why we have now live without any.
Coordinator for Titandizane Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, TAVI, Eric Trinta, says visually impaired persons face numerous challenges which require a collective action.
When you're looking at a person who is blind, the first problem which he has, he needs to be supported each and every day. Who will support this person? By the end of the day, it will be his kid. Now, when you're looking at the rights of the kid, by the end of the day, you see, he will fail to go to school. And the moment that thing happens, we are creating more problems for the future. If in our case we take these little things and build houses for these people, let's say there are only 20 in town, or 100 in town, or 10 or 1 in a society, we're able to alleviate the problem which these people are actually facing.
According to Malawi Union for the Blind, there are over 700,000 Malawians with vision disabilities, making it the largest group of people with physical disabilities in the country.
And in the Ask Today, we get to test the spirit of Vimbuza, a spiritual healing dance performed in Pokaland, Rumpi, Ntalire, Inchitipa, and down the Tumbuka shores of Karonga. 30-year-old saxophonist, music composer, and performer Chigomezio Nyasulu grew up in a remote village in Hewe, Rumpi, watching Vimbuza dancers, and somehow got spiritualized and kind of baptized by their music. He shares his story with Beyond the Headlines.
First of all, I would like to call my spiritual father and sisters.
Growing up in the remotest village of Hewe, Vimbuza kind of possessed Chigomezio and provided him with an acoustic feel he will later embrace as he preferred genre. Vimbuza is spiritual and at best therapeutic. The music provides healing to the possessed and spiritual nourishment to the performers who regard it as a solid link with ancestral spirits. And by that definition, Vimbuza is the type of dance and music that is pregnant of spirits.
There are almost 4 types of Vimbuza. 4 types of Vimbuza. There's Vimbuza that we dance for pleasure. It's okay for money, and I'm a Vimbuza dancer, so I dance Vimbuza for entertainment. You know, entertainment everywhere you can go. And there's Vimbuza whereby the spirits, if they play those kinds of songs, whereby the spirits speaks to you. And they call it as a herbalist. So they are herbalists. But for them to say something about you, they need to be prayed a song, Vimbuza. Otherwise, minus that, then the spirit will not speak to them. But if the spirit will come only if the drums started and the women's are singing those. There is Vimbuza. Vimbuza for just like if you want maybe a Hebrews wants to cash up we call it as nyanga, I don't know in English. Yeah, sorceries, yeah, witchcraft. Yes, they also that is type of vimbuza. Always they always sing. Nande ngwendera mpepo, mizimu yaba mama, mizimu yaba dada, ayama. Nande ngwendera mpepo, which means moving with the spirits. So they could use to say, oh, you have got nyanga, you have got nyanga. I'm seeing this in you. In order for that to be done, there need to be music. So I was just watching this kind of and observing what is going on. Though I was very young, but I didn't know that it would bring me up to this stage. So I just chose that kind of, because I'm used to be singing home and the like. My friends always laugh at me. What kind of songs are these? But I say this is the type of song that I love. The fourth one is something that you just sit down and they play the song, play the drums. When you are sick, when you are sick. So it's a healing mode, but only when you are sick. Because some people, they behave like they have become mad. But it is not mad. They need meditation and the like. From there, after that, you find out it's back to normal, or she's back to normal, sure. That's the fourth one. And I can assure you, if you listen, you really listen to typical traditional music, there's a very great message there. Always, if you can meditate on it, music heals. Sure. I've seen with my bare eyes.
For over 14 years of his young life, Chigomezio was never too far off from the Vimbuza drum and its healing rhythms. As many performers of his generation are going into hip-hop and urban music, Chigomezio is staying true to his Hewe roots and is determined to keep this intangible heritage.
Actually, I use this kind of music because I know that it is typical and it reminds people about the past one. I'm young, really very young, but I have that potential to sing and bless some people and remind them about the past. I just do it out of love, and I know for sure that this kind of music will teach someone. Because I don't even use those kind of words they use for, like, if they want to get healed and the like. I don't use those words, but I compose my own lyric. What can I say to the world? Like there is this song, Inenguerera, Anguerera, Ine Mama, Inenguerera, Ine Kwitu, Inenguerera, Kwitu Burundi, Inenguerera, This song talks about those kind of people who have left home and they don't even think about home and the like. So their parents are what? Are complaining. Please, children, come back. We need to see you. Then after they come up to their minds and they think of going back. So if someone from outside can hear that one, someone who just left the village, who just left their parents can hear this song, I know for sure. Will be touched and they will learn something and they can, I know because I work through trust. And I also teach these young ones. I use different kinds of message. These young ones nowadays, my young fellas are really off track now. They are really doing bad things due to these majirijiris, drugs and substances abuse. So I also teach them. Parents are complaining. Please try to change. This world, the world, and the future is in your hands. So in my music, this is kind of the message that I tackle. I know it's typical village. It happens everywhere. In the village, you will find out now, a lot of people are now aware of what is happening, even in the villages now. Yes, even in town. So my target always go to the village and even in town too. If the audience in the village, I can go, they will listen to this kind of a message, and even in town also, they will listen to this kind of message. For sure, I don't actually use for those people. They are there for calling the spirits. They have good names of their spirits, for sure. So I just use that kind of tune and the like, and compose my own song and deliver the message. For sure.
On stage, he is as possessed as traditional healers and seers in the polka land. But that's how far he can go. He cannot proclaim healing to the possessed as traditional healers do. His drum is purely for entertainment. Chigomezo's music is as deep as his mission to correct societal wrongs, free the entrapped, console the grief-stricken, and heal the sickened spirits. Besides making people happy and nostalgic about their homes, Chigomezyo is that voice that is always contemplating to correct the societal wrongs. Chigomezyo, who describes himself as a Ngo Tumbuka by tribe and eloquently speaks Kyangonde and Tumbuka, is also into Mapenenga and Mbotosia, sounds that define the music texture of Karonga and Chitipa. His time with Karonga-based Lusuilo Band has shaped him into a fine saxophonist, music composer, writer, and trainer. With Lusuilo, Chigomezyo features in an album called Uwarire. Now that he has weaned himself from Lusuilo and now is with Bibawa Band, Chigomezyo is working on releasing his own album and, of course, taking the Vimboza and Mapenenga beyond the Malawi border. Chigomezyo feels his Vimboza and Mapenenga and other traditional sounds from across the country are what he terms Malawi exportable gold.
The spirits are calling me. I am here.
Well, on that note, we come to the end of this edition of Beyond the Headlines. I'm Jane Gogodas. Thanks for watching, and please keep in touch with us on NBC Malawi. See you next time. Bye for now.